Why, welcome in, everybody. I am the Crypto Bull God. This is your daily dose of CBG. And welcome into All in the Charts. If you appreciate the content, you better make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Kathleen has not been here to enforce it, but I'm here to enforce it. No, make sure to hit the thumbs up button if you appreciate the content. Drop me a comment. I see we got Oof, we got Black O, we got John, we got J. Kim, who refers to me as the GOAT. Definitely don't consider myself as the GOAT, but J. Kim, at least there's one person out there who thinks that I am. And make sure you click that bell icon for all notifications to make sure when you can get a daily dose of the CBG. Today, I am having a tangerine LaCroix. What's everybody drinking today? I know DT's going to have himself a cup of black roast coffee. A little too late in the day for that for me. Did have a couple cups of that this morning. I was really dragging today. How's everybody else doing? Did everyone have a good weekend? Anything going on in anyone's life that's exciting or new and different? Pretty chill here. But I'm feeling a little out of it today, but trying to bring a lot of energy to the live stream. So I thought where we would start off with today, Arizona iced tea, lemonade, diet variety. Very nice. Arizona iced tea. I used to drink those a lot back in the day. The Arizona iced teas. There was the green tea with ginseng, and just the regular iced tea. Oof, you got your dad to buy Doge? Very nice. Very nice. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the family, Oof's dad. Is he going to join the live streams? So, step one, Oof, is you've gotten him to get into the market, and he owns a meme coin. Step two, you bring him into the CBG world. Just bring him in. He might appreciate the content. Juan, welcome in. Rashid, very good to see you, my friend. The myth, the man, the legend. You tried, man. You're like me. You're like me. You go for that punchline and you mess it up. You're just like me. Welcome in, Rashid. Good to see you. Guys, I thought what we would do today is kind of assess some weekly closes that developed over the weekend. I was considering live streaming on Sunday unexpectedly, but I looked at the price action. I was like, there isn't anything too crazy going on, so I'll just hold off until Monday. For those that don't know what Juan is speaking to, you'll have to tune into the CBG podcast. So, no fights. I'm actually a man of peace. But I did go up and knock on their door, and no one responded, of course. And the dog did stop barking. They did let the dog in. So I don't know what the issue was there. You don't want to piss CBG off during his podcast. You don't want to do that. All right, so let's get into the charts in terms of the immediate price action on the 12-hour. Nothing really surprising is going on with price action. In fact, now that we have more emerging price data here, let's focus on price action itself. Things are just sort of doing what I said they would do, right? There's nothing. Really, you can just, now that there's more price data, you can draw this a couple different ways. You could draw it like this and say we're under descending resistance. You could draw it like I had it originally drawn. And you could say we are above descending resistance. But at this point, I don't even think having this line adds a lot of value, to be perfectly honest with you. I think the main thing to keep in mind here is we just don't want to deviate. This is a 12-hour chart. Historical significance is there. I've spoken to it many times. Guys, key thing to keep in mind with this chart, right? We don't need a ton of areas of price confluence we need to draw. We don't need all these descending and ascending lines. Focus on two moving averages, okay? The 50 and the 200. So long as we don't see some sort of massive death cross here and price is subsequently going down, because price would have to have a steep decrease to do that, I don't really care with what's going on with price action. As long as we maintain ourselves in here, and hear me out, we could end up seeing the dreaded death cross, right? We could get the 50 kissing the 200 down here, right? So let me draw something hypothetically that we could see, okay? You could, for instance, see this 50 continue to kind of come down as price is coming down, right? Let's draw that as our purple 50. You could, because of the monumental rise in price, the 200 is still going to be increasing. It's just not going to be increasing as high as a steep of a incline there. So you could see something where we level off like this. This does not concern me. This right here is not concerning me. What would concern me is if we started to get a deep cross here and price was subsequently going down like this, right? We don't want to see that. But as long as I tried to keep it really stupid simple like I always do on this channel, as long as we stay in this yellow rectangular region, okay, the yellow box, between roughly 41.3 and 37.9, okay, as long as the candle body closes remain in this area. Again, we could see a wick below here. I could care less. But as long as our candle bodies remain in this region, the downside is going to be extremely limited, and it's going to result in a sharp increase in price in the coming weeks, in my opinion. Remember, I had come out here, was it a week or two ago? I forget at this point. Days blend together. But I think it was early last week. I said, yeah, I'm sort of, no, maybe it was back here. When was this? Back in this price action here, I think, is when I spoke to it. So that would have been... Oh, that would have been mid to late January. So my expectation, I had said to you guys, was going into February, and for several weeks, I just expected some chop, right? There's nothing unhealthy and there's nothing bad about that. It allows a lot of your price indicators to cool off. These are things I routinely hit on this channel. It allows your price indicators to cool off. That consolidation allows buyers to load up. And it's just a point in the, I hate to use the word cycle, but it's a point in the process in the charts where essentially you're reloading, okay? It's like reloading your gun, right? And you're getting ready to fire off again. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We're reloading for another massive move up here. That's kind of how I view this, all right? If we go to the weekly... I mean, literally price is right in the orange rectangular area I had spoken to back in September. We're right in line with my expectations. Now, again, one more time, what I should have done, because it doesn't make any sense, there's a disconnect here. I should have gone like this, but regardless, we're going to keep it as I had originally drawn. But again, I don't have the expectations that we're going to convincingly break above 50 to 52 until March. Could we start to significantly break above 50 to 52 in maybe late February, maybe even mid-February? Absolutely, that's a possibility. I'm not here to tell you week by week what the price action looks like. It's just, guys, I'm going to come out here and I'll try to be as dynamic always as I can, as entertaining as I always am, but educational and informative as I can be. It's just I can't make things up. You're going to go around YouTube. If you're newer here, you need to really pay attention to what I'm about to say. You can go around YouTube. You can go around Twitter, especially as you're busy with your everyday life. And you're just trying to pick up tidbits of information going on within the markets. You're going to find thumbnails out there for people who are just vying for your views. They want to pull on those emotional strings, okay, and get you to click on their video. And so even though all of this price action is very healthy and there's nothing concerning going on and nothing exciting, quite frankly, you're going to see thumbnails out there about Bitcoin dumping or a monumental rise in Bitcoin or whatever the case is. You know what? Actually, we're just consolidating and we're sort of waiting for the market to make its next move. Now, I think the next move is going to be substantially higher, okay? But I can't tell you the day or week that that's going to occur. Right now, we're just sort of consolidating, and I don't expect any, it's not a dump. I don't even want to use the word dump. I don't expect any correction to significantly deviate from 37,900. I just don't. Again, there is a probability we could go to 35 or 32, but two comments I'm going to keep hitting on. Number one, everyone is waiting for it. You have people out there with YouTube channels who do no technical analysis that are literally spewing the same thing they hear from other people and regurgitating it to you. They can't even read a chart and they're telling you they were setting up all these buy limit orders. That tells me it's not going to happen. And number two, even if it does happen, who the hell cares if you buy Bitcoin at 38,000, 37, or 35, or 32? It's the same conversation I had with people buying Bitcoin at 8, 9, 10, or 11,000. In either case, you set yourself up for a tremendous return on your investment, right? So think long term. There's nothing alarming going on. Just don't overthink things, guys. This is the weekly. We're consolidating here in terms of the weekly close. I said I wanted to close roughly where we were at, I believe, last week. I said it'd be great to close the week somewhere around, where did we close? Yeah, I think I said 43, if we could close somewhere in there. We closed at 42.5, so not too far off from 43. But the main thing I'm looking for here on the weekly, okay, you see remember we talked about this MACD cross. Now this week is going to be pivotal because what we don't want to see, okay, from a weekly perspective is we don't want to see a significant downturn in the market. If that happens, what would happen is this MACD would have a significant cross down, okay? And this histogram is going to start to pick up and be dark red. We don't want that. That's the thing we want to avoid. So this week it's an important week, this week and next week. But what I'm anticipating happening and what we want to see in the charts, maybe we get an indecision candle this week. The following week is a little bit green. This MACD is just going to flatten out. It's going to be, as they say, a nothing burger in terms of it crossing down, and it's a non-event. So I'm not concerned about this. But the main thing I am watching for on the weekly, and that you need to watch for as well, is the relative strength index. Okay. Now, ultimately, what I want to see on the relative strength index, or the RSI, and this is the number one thing I would ask you guys to pay attention to on the weekly chart. Okay. We need to see the RSI, and I've spent a great deal of time talking about this in the past. We're not going to go through the history again. We need to see this RSI get back above 70. That's step one. That should leave us feeling very confident in the most likely direction for price based on history. But number two is, just like price data, as price data is beginning to create lower highs and stair-stepping down, and one of the things you want to do from a bullish perspective is invalidate the lower highs by getting above each prior lower high, invalidating them and building those higher highs, okay, on the stairway to heaven, or Valhalla. You can say the same thing on price indicators. Right now, we have two lower highs here that we want to invalidate. Okay, this is sort of a double top here. But once we get above 70, we want to start to get above this 75 region. Okay, so get above 70 is step one. Get above 75 is step two. Once we start pushing above 75, then you're going to be seeing a lot of momentum coming into the market, in my opinion. We're going to be well over $50,000 at that point. Or at least, I caution to say well over. We'll be over $50,000 to $52,000 by that point. What else? Did you guys see my flare video? I posted a flare video, and one of the things that I had tweeted out, if you haven't, go take a look at it, but flare has had I don't know if you caught the video, but I can't think of a V-shaped recovery that I've seen. For as much as I've trolled the community, I said in my intro, and rightfully so, I trolled Hugo. Hugo was one of the absolute worst communicators during the airdrop, constantly redefining when the airdrop would occur. Well, you got to give props to the token, though, okay? This is a hell of a V-shaped recovery. This is something we've been covering for weeks, and right now, it stands to reason that we're going to be breaking new all-time highs sooner rather than later. Now, the question I began to ask myself was, okay, if Flare has had this, and by the way, I positioned myself accordingly. I don't announce every single trade position I open, but I did open a trade position in the following token I'm about to indicate. Flare, I have my tokens. Those things are delegated, wrapped up, and staked. I haven't touched them. So I'm going to get whatever was owed to me from the airdrop, the XRP airdrop back in December 20, all right? But the question you have to ask yourself is, could something similar play out in Songbird? So if we look at Songbird, we could potentially have a similar sort of situation playing out. Will it? I don't know, but I'm at least going to bring it up to you that if we did have a similar pop in Songbird relative to Flare, the way you would, let's take a look at this real quick because I didn't put this in the video. But here you can see we're looking at a fib retracement. Okay, this is approximate. I'm not going to make this exact. You can see from top to bottom, we came all the way up. We actually went above the 0.786 fib retracement. We almost completely have retraced the entire move down. Very, very bullish, okay? If we did something similar with Songbird, okay, ticker symbol SGB, we would be up well over 20 cents. We'd probably be pushing up towards 40 cents, okay? So 40 cents, let's say 30 cents, okay? Something well over 20 cents, let's call it 30 cents without being specific. You know, that you're looking at roughly a 28x from here, okay? So I took a position personally. I'm indicating key areas of resistance on Songbird here with a major region right between 4.85 cents to 10 cents. I think once you see price action get into this area and we can hold this area, that is monumentally bullish because this is once we broke this area at 10 cents, that's when sort of the floodgates opened and we had our dumpster fire price action, right? So when you see Songbird up in that 4.85 cent range to 10 cent range and we're holding this as support, right? I would anticipate having a large move up from there. So it's something I'm going to be planning to keep an eye on because I also have exposure to it. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But take a look at that flare video if you haven't. I think it's a good video as all the videos that I produce. Let me see. How's Ethereum looking? I haven't even looked at Ethereum. Haven't really had time to chart this afternoon, so busy. CBG's been on the phone a lot today. Some good calls, some calls I could have done without, but you know, that'll change in time. This is a 2-week. Let's look at the weekly. Don't pay attention to this. Let's just pay attention to moving averages. Okay, we got the 50 crossing above the 200. MACD, RSI. Okay, we're losing a little bit of momentum here, and we want to see that pick up. Again, the way I could broadly interpret the price action on Ethereum is very similar to Bitcoin. We're at a point of consolidation, but if you were to start to take different charts, okay, and sort of tie things together to come up with a conclusion in terms of what you could potentially see occurring within the next several weeks. Well, let's look at Bitcoin USD. We're at a point of consolidation, right? I mean, no matter if you look at the weekly or 12-hour, you can see once we came up into this region, and that's why I had it marked as such, not surprisingly that we stalled out around 48, right? 48,000. So since then, we're just consolidating. Well, that's not surprising. If we go to Ethereum USD, now we've broken out of this potential ascending triangle. And what are we doing right now? Well, we're just sort of consolidating between 22 to 2,500. Let's look at another chart. Well, here we're looking at the Ethereum BTC relativity chart. This is on a 2-week. And you can see, I think a lot of people were very quick to say we were breaking out of this resistance without getting candle body confirmation. You can see we have not broken out of this. I see a lot of people jumping to conclusions saying we're breaking out of this downward resistance in the RSI, but we haven't. But the more important thing, and let's just stay on the 2-week, the more important thing to note here is we're nearing the end of consolidation. So this chart is telling me that more than likely we're nearing the end of consolidation. Either the Ethereum BTC is going to roll over and come down into this region, or it's just going to break this channel here and just do this. That's entirely possible. Or we're going to break up, potentially backtest, and then continue going higher. I am in the camp that believes the latter. You know, it's interesting, and I'll hit on this in another video, upcoming video that I plan on publishing, my fellow Caspians. But a lot of people, I've expressed this many times in this market, I have never been in a community that is as impatient as those who are invested in crypto. I love my cousin very much, and I think he'd find the humor in this. But quite often, the impatience that I see within the crypto community is very similar to the impatience I would see with my cousin having a very short attention span and needing to do things and he just couldn't sit. The guy can't sit still, just chill, just relax. And what I find people do in this community, and I'm being very general, I'm not saying this community because you guys are extremely intelligent. You are. I feel like I have a great community that tunes in all the time, in all seriousness. But what I find is a lot of people are after that new shiny object, right? There's always some narrative people want to latch onto right away and say that that's the next best thing. There are so many people asleep on Ethereum right now thinking that for some reason, with all these projects built on top of it, with all the success that it's had in the past several years, for all of the longevity that it has had remaining as the number 2 cryptocurrency, that all of a sudden it's just not going to do anything. I think you are going to be sadly mistaken. Do you want to know what I think is going to happen with Ethereum? I think Ethereum all of a sudden, it's not going to be super swift at first. But I believe what's going to happen is we're going to start breaking above these areas of resistance. And once we start getting above 28 to 3,000, there is going to be a pretty quick move up to 4,000 and above. Okay? All the meanwhile, I believe what's going to happen is your Bitcoin's going to underperform Ethereum, which will lead to this dominance increasing. Now, what other item could we look at that may point us to the fact that we could see a run in Ethereum sooner rather than later, and it's going to outperform Bitcoin? And furthermore, it's going to give strength to the rest of the altcoin market. Well, it would be this chart here. This is breaking down. If we look at the relative strength index, it was a major point of emphasis that I hit on, that this increasing, you see this ascending line of support here? Should make this a different, there we go. You see this ascending area of support here? We finally broke below it. And what did I tell you guys last week? Now that we're below it, wouldn't surprise me to try to see us try to get above it, but not, and roll over. Now, if we also similarly look at price, it's interesting to see that we fell out of this upwards channel right here. We've re-entered it. And so what I think could happen is you could see one last gasp attempt from Bitcoin dominance to try to create a higher high. Maybe we wick as high as 58%, okay? But I think eventually we're going to begin to see that rollover. We actually took a look at dominance. We took a look at this drop in dominance last week, and I forget which TA video it was. That's why it's important that you tune in every day. But during this time, it was very interesting in generalities, without getting to the specific timing of the moves, as this Bitcoin dominance level was dropping, not the USD value, the dominance level was dropping, Bitcoin was breaking out above its all-time high of $20,000. So even though Bitcoin was breaking 20,000, it was heading up towards 30,000 and well above towards 64, the dominance was subsequently dropping. And why? Because Ethereum started outperforming Bitcoin. That's number one. Number two, that gave confidence to all the other altcoins within the market to sort of, instead of de-risking, it was risk on. And the most risk on thing you can do is take your capital and begin to pour it into some of these smaller market cap altcoins. And so the altcoins started, if Bitcoin was moving up 7 or 10%, you had your altcoins popping off 30%, 70%, 130% or more. And so that fed into the market dominance for Bitcoin bleeding. That's why you see that, right? Well, I see something similar playing out here. You're going to see the greatest fall in dominance once Bitcoin starts breaking out above its all-time high. Now, it's anyone's educated guess. We're all taking educated guesses when that could occur. I have some people whose opinions I respect saying we're going to see new all-time highs in Bitcoin prior to the halving date. I'm not that optimistic. I think the halving date, or I shouldn't use the word optimistic. I'm not that aggressive. When is the halving date? Maybe I am. When is the halving date? Bitcoin halving date 2024. I thought it was April. Okay, so April 18th is what I'm seeing. So I've seen some people's opinions who I respect say by this week we could be above $69,000 by April 15th. I don't think that's so outlandish. I think it'll most likely occur a little bit after that. If my primary thesis is still correct and Bitcoin tops as early as, June, July, I think you could see Bitcoin breaking above its all-time high maybe by May. But there are also other technicians and other thought processes out there who I respect, getting me to think a little bit differently in terms of alternative scenarios that suggest even if we do see something like that, we're essentially not going to be topping until the end of this year or early next year. Very open to all those ideas, and I think that's why it's very important for my own personal success. And if you want to utilize it as well for your own, as to put it in your toolbox for your own personal success, it's important you identify a handful of signals that are going to tell you more than likely the market's topping. Now, whether it's a temporary top or permanent top for a long time, we'll figure that out at a later point. But at least it tells you that Bitcoin is topping. Your altcoins are going to have a really hard run and probably would be advantageous to take profits. So I want to put that video together. The main thing you want to look for in general, okay, in terms of putting together a handful of signals, you don't want signals that are too correlated with one another. And you also want signals, I think a main point of emphasis, I want to find whatever signals I'm using to indicate that the move we're seeing is impulsive. You want to see an impulsive move. When we come back here, one of the other reasons that I feel so convicted that $69,000, while it is our all-time high, was part of a corrective structure was because this move here was not impulsive. If you look at the relative strength index and other price indicators going into this move, you see that it was much lower here than it was here. This move, you saw the price indicators get way overheated. Here, this was a very dull movement. That's because this was part of an ABC correction. Tricked me, tricked a lot of other people, right? ABC correction, right? I've said this many, many times, right? And people who don't give technical analysis the time of day don't understand that you can actually create a higher high here, okay, which was really a double top, but a higher high here by roughly 5% over here. But it's part of it doesn't mean that that was the end of your cycle or your euphoric top or whatever the case was. No, it's just part of a corrective structure. You can have a corrective structure where the price level actually hits a higher price level than the blow-off impulsive top. So I'm rambling. I'm going in a lot of different directions here. Whole point is I've seen a whole lot of conjecture in the market in terms of what people think. And I think the last thing I would say here is it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but we're all making educated. You really need to be careful who you follow. There's a lot of things I continually hit on this channel. Don't just follow me, follow other value-added technicians in the space. If you want to get a handle on the people who I personally respect in the space, check out whose posts I comment on. Check out who I engage with. Check out who comes on the channel. I mean, these are people whose opinions I respect. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with them all the time. Okay? I do not agree with everyone's opinions whom I respect. There are opinions out there right now regarding the way price is going to play out, and I don't agree with those opinions, but I still respect the technical analyst giving the opinion. Okay? Make sure you do that, and then also consider if you're playing into a contrarian view or the populist view, the popular narrative, right? Because quite oftentimes the contrarian view is the one that's going to miss out. Think about this correction that we're supposed to see in the stock market, right? They say a broken clock is right twice every day, right? It's right. It's correct twice a day, right? Hopefully you understand what that means. But the point is, the people who have been calling for doom and gloom and for there to be a massive correction in the stock market, I've never come out here and said the contrary. I've never said that there wouldn't be a massive correction in the stock market and crypto. In fact, I think that's going to happen. It's going to be pretty bloody and pretty rough, okay? However, I think that and I've been saying this since 2022, it's going to happen in a time period when most people don't expect it. People are continually saying, they said it was going to happen in 23. Now they're saying it's going to happen in 24. So I think it's going to happen, but it's going to be happening at a time when the fewest people expect it. When everyone thinks this is a new paradigm, okay? We got the ETF. We have new money flooding in. Stock markets are well above new all-time highs. These money managers don't know what they're talking about. I'm done listening to the money managers. All the meanwhile, they're still spelling that they're for 24 consecutive months. They've been saying there's going to be a sizable downturn, right? Peter Schiff will claim he's correct, even though he was off by like 3 years. So no one's going to be listening to these money market managers. Everyone's going to flood into the market. That's the time when we're going to top, guys. So just make sure you're paying attention to all these things. One more chart. I'll see what comments we have. Let's just take a look at the total. Let's just take a look at the total market cap. Again, just consolidation. I mean, I can't make this seem any more interesting than what it is. We're just at a point of consolidation right now. Anything interesting going on? Chainlink's been having a nice run. GME is down over 8%. The dollar is up towards 105. S&P, NASDAQ, and the Dow are having little teeny tiny drops here. How about the OG coins? Anything at the OG coins? No. Did I tell you guys I bought some Monero and I'm storing it? What wallet am I storing it in? Is it... what the hell wallet is this? I know the name of it, but I don't want to say the wrong name and sound stupid. Yeah, it is. It's Cake Wallet. So I have my Monero stored in Cake Wallet. A0 down 8%. Chlor having a nice day. There's really not a whole ton going on. What do you guys got for me? You got anything before we call it a day? Tomorrow is going to be the TA Q&A session. So just make sure for tomorrow, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to keep it like that on an ongoing basis for the foreseeable future. Make sure you come tomorrow locked and loaded with any TA questions, because that's really what will make for an interesting stream. Also, on my end, just so you know kind of what I'm doing behind the scenes, yeah, I haven't heard back from them. So, doing some stuff for the channel, but also in terms of networking, but also doing the as much as time will allot for it, doing some continued education on the economic environment, because I do, on the next CBG podcast, I do want to spend a considerable amount of time talking about a lot of things in the economy from my perspective that I think would be informative and helpful for you, the listener. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cram it all into one podcast. It might just be something on an ongoing basis. It is something I want to be a little bit more structured with in terms of having some notes and key talking points. So I'm going to put some work into that. I hope you also found the CBG podcast on nutrition and working out helpful. Did get some positive feedback on that. There were several things that I missed on. I went back and was critiquing the podcast. And beyond the dog incident, there were a couple things I missed on. So at some point we'll probably go back and I'll hit on a few things that I missed on. But that's what happens when you don't write notes for yourself and you just kind of wing it. Yeah, Ross, I'm happy to chart it. Come on tomorrow. We'll do a live TA Q&A. Juan thinks XDC is going to kill ETH. You never know. Everybody always has an ETH killer out there, as they say. Evan, you're ridiculous. Okay, Raghorn has a good question here. Any new crypto projects you like besides CAS? So one that I have been highlighting pretty relatively routinely is Clore AI. Look them up. GPU. Um, ooh, I thought I had something else on here that I wanted to show you guys. I thought I had. Well, in any event, this is a project very similar to Render, and this is a proof of work, which I love. I love proof of work plays. Love the structure on the chart. I thought there was something else I had drawn on this chart. Maybe I didn't show it. But anyway, in generalities, one of the things I was pointing out in this chart was just the accumulation that's taking place. I mean, what's going on? What went on here when we went from 2 cents all the way up to what, 30 almost, 28 cents? It's the same thing going on here at 11, 12 cents, right? You see this increasing RSI that just continues to stick out to me like a sore thumb. Of course, I'm looking at this on the daily because there's limited price data. This is a beautiful looking chart, very interesting project, extremely small market cap. Again, Render competitor, something that right now from a market cap perspective, I want to say it's at 35 million. Let's check it out real quick. It's around 35 million. Yeah, 35 million. What is it at position? Yeah, it's all the way back at 700. So really small market cap here. I have a, based on the risk associated with investing in something like this in the market cap level, for me, investing in a $35 million market cap ranked at 700 is a very high risk. For me, that's very high risk. Some people may not think that's a very high risk. They may think something that's a higher risk is in the 2000s. I don't play that game. Back in the 700 range is pretty much as far back as I will go. That's just based on my own risk tolerance level. But based on how risky an investment is, yes, do some research, Raghorn. I think you'll like what you find. Based on the amount of risk associated with this investment, I have a decent amount allocated to this, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But that's the one project I would point out. Great question. Another great question from Raghorn. Best way to learn TA, books, courses. I don't do books in general. Something I'll share with you that may be very interesting about me is I am not, and this is somebody who has credentials in a niche field too. Think about all the reading I must have done to get my credentials. I'm not big on reading, like actually sitting down and reading a book. I have Audible, so I love listening. Why do you think I say I always listen to these podcasts, right? I go on YouTube, I have Spotify once in a while, but really YouTube. I listen to channels. I also, if I want to read a book, which I actually just downloaded a few books, I listen to it. I don't read. So I don't really prefer to read. In terms of learning technical analysis, I would implore you to look into signing up for some legitimate courses that teach you how to read charts. That's what I did back in 2016. So I don't think it was 15. No, it wouldn't have been 15. It was 16. Yes, Ross, I would be happy to chart Cheeto out for you tomorrow. In fact, if you're here for the live stream and I see, because it's going to be hard for me to remember this question tomorrow, but I'll try to remember that if you drop this one in the comments, I will chart that one first. That's a promise to you, as long as you drop it in the comments tomorrow. Probably shouldn't do that in case, probably shouldn't promise something in case my old man age makes me forget, but I'll chart it for you tomorrow. Evan, I don't get the context of your question. Clore has been accumulating for a long time. It looks like it's True accumulation range after the corrective nature, I would say since late December. So we're going on a month, about a month and a half. So decent amount of time. I kind of have an initial region up here where I see it going anywhere between like roughly $1 to $1.60. It's kind of the range I'm looking at personally. Quant, haven't taken a look at it in a while. We can chart. Actually, I did take a look at that recently, but we can take a look at it tomorrow if you'd like me to chart it out. All right, guys, just wanted to catch you up on the market. Nothing super crazy going on. I'm not going to give you the thumbnails that lead you astray so you click thinking you're getting something you're not. This was simply a market update. It's also an update that should leave you feeling confident that the charts are in very good shape and we're just consolidating. The video should also leave you feeling confident you know key areas of price action to look for on some of these charts that I've spoken to, and price indicators as well, specifically as it relates to the relative strength index on the weekly Bitcoin chart. So if you appreciated the educational nature of the video, make sure you're sharing this content on Discord, you're sharing it on X or Twitter, sharing it with friends and family who could benefit from watching some educational content from someone out there who considers himself an educator and not a content creator. So until next time, everybody, let's all spread awareness and let's carry the education forward. Thank you for showing up, everybody.